me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me in. Don't play that, haters. Take you down, I'ma say that. I need me a couple dollars. Telling you now, this payback. So I pay that. Ask them now, what's sage at? I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on that. All these lanes in the zone now. And all these lanes gonna tell you what I did and they twisting their voice till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my Kodak. So yo, finally back in my home. I'm working, I saw no other that's why I had me a drum. Two hands to my soul, now just leave it there, that's home. All in, can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great trap, and almost banging wheels.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Don't get greedy now, mate. Let's go, settle down.
Welcome to our Monday night incident report, part of the ATK Pro Series 2020, the greatest sim racing competition in South Africa, brought to you by Kyle Army 9-Hour Motorsport South Africa, and of course our partners, AMD, Elgato, Logitech. As everyone knows by now, this is where we get to debate some of the decisions that happen in a race. We get to reflect back on whether it was a good race or not, and we can tell you that this weekend's racing was some of the best that we've seen. Round 10 at Suzuka, Ultimate Driver Circuit, and a lot of hype and expectation because we went into this knowing we could very well be crowning a champion. We duly did. I think, anybody putting any money, this was the surest bet in the world. Zaire Esser wrapping things up in his Porsche that was boasting some new livery. We had Mobile joining us for the event, and so cool for them to have the championship winning car in their colors as he crossed the line. But wow, what a flippin' amazing race. We're going to talk about the race and the incidents with guys that were kept fairly busy, especially in the pro race, Jonathan Bentz and Wayne Riddell, who have been doing a splendid job implementing new technology, helping us take what is simulator racing to as close as possible, I think, to the way things operate in the real world. So, gentlemen, Jonathan, Wayne, nice to have you guys here. Cracker race in Suzuka.
Oh, what a race, man. And, we were kept fairly busy yesterday. Pro-Am didn't yield as many incidents as usual, but in all, great racing all round, and looking forward to Spa next week.
Yeah, I think I must agree with Jonathan there. We were expecting safety cars in the first few laps. We were bracing ourselves for it. We'd done all the relevant training and the preparations for it. Fortunately, we didn't have a safety car. The driver, however, was a little bit upset. He was rearing to go and wanted a safety car situation. I think his time will come.
He was trying to race in the pro-ams.
Yeah, exactly. I think we did expect it. The guys were well behaved, and I must tell you, this is now my second or third race that I'm officiating over. Yeah. I'm really impressed. The racing level in the pro class was phenomenal. I was able to switch on board. I moved around with the guys, looking at the different races going on. That pack, second, third, fourth place. Yeah. I want to say right now, kudos to those drivers, really. Sure. Esther and Sherritt disappeared into the blue yonder. But the charging pack, the next 3 or 4 guys, I tip my hat to you, gentlemen, if you're listening to us tonight, because really, you guys were pros. You raced like pros. I was super impressed.
It was quite funny. I was at my local coffee shop today, and one of the guys said, I watched this. He said, it looked like it was the real thing. I said, no, that's the thing. But I mean, that's the whole production side of it as well. Like what Daniel does in terms of producing it as a TV show. Anybody walking past is going to go, wow. And we actually said it, Ernest and I, in commentary, like, if you've just tuned in, that is some of the best racing you would have seen, whether it is virtual or real, makes no difference. And the guys, when we chatted them afterwards, absolutely shattered, because Suzuka, Jonathan, is not an easy track. It's a rhythm circuit. Sure. You make one mistake, you get punished here. And to go 50 minutes like that when you are chasing and watching mirrors, fantastic to watch.
And what would a race be without some last-minute drama at the end?
He's right. I know. That was, we were sitting in comedy saying, is he trying to do the Schumacher? And then obviously Wayne, after Schumacher's incident all those years ago, they changed the ruling. Yeah. So Jonathan, just to help people that might not have watched the end of it, Obviously, Jordan up front, I think about a 4-second lead, got issued with exceeding track limit penalty, so he's given a drive through. And he said in the interview he thought he'd be quite clever and he'd take the chance because he knew he'd lose the 1 second position probably with a drive through. So he tried to run his drive through on the final lap of the game.
Unfortunately, that doesn't work like that. So he should have really just held his position and taken the 30-second penalty at the end, which it would have added on to his time, and he would have more than likely, because unfortunately you have to go through the entire pit lane as well as exit for the penalty to clear. So a bit unfortunate there, but I mean, at the end of the day, he still ran wide and still got the penalty. So it's an unfortunate thing, but it just shows you as well, you've got to keep racing right to the end. If you're second, third, or whatever, just keep at it. You never know what's going to happen at the end.
Jonathan, that's great advice. And I mean, Wayne, we've seen that so often. I mean, it does happen, and we've mentioned it in these races. The last 10 minutes usually for me are like the twilight zone. Anything that can happen usually does. I've never seen it happen so late because it literally was like the last 2 laps. And I mean, I remember even Daniel saying, okay, who finished second, first, third? What did we put on the podium?
Marius, I must just tell you, Warren, as most of you know, was our safety car driver. So we were in the steward's room and we had about 2-3 minutes to go. And Marius said, okay, right, I'm out of here. And I said, no, the race ain't over. And I promise you, I've seen stuff turned on its head on the last lap. No, we're not over. And it was just a comment, a throwaway comment, but it was quite prophetic, actually. Hell broke loose in the last 2 minutes.
Commentator's curse, Wayne. You see,
literally.
But it's this, before we look at our incidents, I mean, for me, it was also cool because when we chatted to Zaire, I mean, obviously great for him to then end up winning and getting the championship. But he just said, like in the race, he just kept Jordan honest because 3 to 4 second gap the whole time visually, you can see the guys there. So you've got to stay on it, and that is also pressure that is sustained for 50 minutes, and that's where you make a little bit of a mistake. So that rings true. You've got to keep fighting because in racing things can happen. I know we don't have technical stuff here where the car might break down. Well, I suppose we could have load shedding. We could have a steering disconnect. We've seen that sort of stuff happen. So race up to the
The guys can run out of fuel, because
they can. That's also a good point. Jonathan, let's get into our incident. Yes. What I've loved in the last couple of rounds since you and Wayne have been putting together and doing this stuff is that it's been great that the incidents for me are being dealt with in race because I think that is what every driver wants, because then there we go, penalties being served, off you go, done, and you can do your race way better than dealing with it post.
And we are seeing the results from that in terms of what the guys are posting in the race incidents thread in Discord afterwards. In that we're seeing a dramatic drop in incidents being posted post-race. And I mean, I think it was 3 the previous round and now 3 again this round. And some of those that they're posting are actually incidents we've already dealt with. So, the person can then just get confirmation that, the guy did get a penalty during the race, or no, we're not going to revert on that decision. So, we are seeing the rewards of that for sure. And it is difficult to deal with absolutely everything in the race, technology-wise, and in terms of trying to have a look at every single time a car touches another car. I mean, goodness. So a lot of times we have to chase our tails, and you look for an incident, and it's like, oh no, that guy literally just bumped that guy for a split second, and it's registering as an accident. So it is tough, but I think we're getting through a lot of the incidents a lot quicker now.
I guess as well, before we have a look at the first one, because I know we've got 5 today, and I mean 4 of them pretty much have been dealt with. One's going to get dealt with quite severely, and then there's one that obviously was missed. So we'll cover all of them. Yeah. But I think what is cool is that there's a set of standards that you guys have introduced, and the drivers start realizing, listen, we actually are racing. So if I do lean on you and we go a bit bang, bang, door to door, that happens. That is racing. That is not smashing into a guy under braking, doing something stupid where there is, like we've seen, big carnage at Bathurst a couple of weeks back. I mean, those are real incidents that are worth reviewing. But a guy going a little tap. We are racing after all. We're not playing in little Michelin suits. So this thing does happen. But I think the guys now realize. So they'll look back at the incident themselves and go, "Yeah, I'm not going to log a report here because it obviously wasn't that bad." So I think the guys have learned. So well done to both you and Wayne for pioneering this and putting a good set of rules together. I'm under a bit of pressure because I know it was always Tasmin and I that were set up to kind of argue against each other. But in recent times, Taz has been like my sidekick. We've been on the same page. And today I'm on my own. So it's like Jonathan and Wayne against Marius. So let's have a look at one today, yeah, let's see if I agree or disagree.
There we were, 3 against 3,000. Man, we stuffed those 3 up.
Exactly. And it makes no difference because your decisions have been dealt with in final.
Well,
let's have a look at the first one.
Okay, first incident today. No incidents from Pro-Am. So first incident is coming out of Pro, and it is lap 1, turn 1. And the incident was with Patterson. And you can see him there in the South African flag Porsche behind Wilkin. And he is going as the go. Lean on Quaid a little bit there. I think they just got stuck together. And then go into turn 1. Well, it's too wide at the moment. And then a spin for Wilkin. Impact there is 3 cars badly. So we didn't call the safety car on this one.
Yeah, I remember
the
seeing...
reason for no safety car. The reason for no safety car is that it wasn't a parking lot.
No, I get it. I mean, we just... Daniel pulled the shot off, so in the background we following the leaders, we saw the Porsche spinning and we're like, chaos in turn 1. But I mean, when you have a look at the 2 or 3 cars affected, great call. We don't need a safety car for that.
Yeah.
Because everyone got through. Now this is interesting for me having a look at this. I mean, we'll talk. I know that the penalty was issued to Kieran Patterson. You guys are saying he ran wide, ran into Charles Wilkin and put him in a spin. But there are a couple of things that are quite interesting for me. Like visually looking at it, that leaning on Quaid Claessens for me is more of an issue. But like you said, that could very well be just like the game. I know the guys talk about the proximity. When the guys get close, the game does tend to do funny things. But looking at it from a racing driving perspective, he's trying to lean on the OK. That's more to it.
Correct. However, Claessen was not prejudiced by it. When they broke apart, they were still side by side. That for us was, we did look at it, but that for us was okay. Naughty, but survivable.
But Wayne, is that not also because the game, they actually weren't, if you know what I mean? So it's not, because if you were leaning on a guy like that for real, that's what I think Jonathan was saying, if it's a software glitch. Okay,
sure.
Now can I present why I disagree?
Let's have the close proximity conversation all over again.
Can I tell you why I've got a bit of a disagreement with the decision that you guys made? It's not going to help us in this view because obviously we're on board here with Charles. But Kieran, yes, he ends up running a little bit wide and that's where he ends up tapping Patterson. But have a look in the above shot here. I think that's Morgan McCall, who is the Porsche that breaks, and Kieran ends up being he's about to run into the back of Morgan. And that actually is what threw him slightly off of his line to avoid running into the back of Morgan. And that is why he was slightly off his line and ended up tapping. Look at that. Look at the little adjustment he made so he didn't run into the back of Kieran. So for me, it felt a bit hectic. I know somebody's got to pay for it, but this wasn't anything I felt that Kieran did deliberately. He didn't run him out wide on purpose to run Charles Wilkin off of the track.
I don't think he did it on purpose either.
Have a look at his adjustment.
We warned him in the briefing. Turn somebody around in turn 1, you're going to get a drive-through. That was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a debate. It was, does he tick the box? Yes, he does. He turns somebody around in turn 1. He must take the penalty.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, one needs to remember that it is turn 1. Turn 1, that means hold formation. It's not a time to suddenly realize, okay, no, I'm going to take the optimal line, which is around the outside there. You can't do that. He knows Wilkins there.
No, but
he knows Quaid's on the inside as well.
But
so
John,
you have to hold them on the track.
he didn't take the optimal line. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know what you're saying. It's turn one.
You start tight and then you run wide for the next apex.
Sure.
So he's doing exactly that. Look here.
No, he's not. Have a look, because he's about to run into the back of Morgan. There.
No, he doesn't. No, that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
The corner went right for everybody.
Yeah.
31 starters, 27 gave each other space.
Okay, but hang on.
Unfortunately, he ticked the box.
Hang on. Watch here. This is what I'd like you guys just to start acknowledging, is that there's other impacts in incidents like this. His little adjustment.
That was too much of an adjustment.
Hang on. His adjustment. What Jonathan's saying is that he went in with an inside line, sweeping to the outside like you take turn one in Suzuka. I'm saying no, he didn't.
You did.
Okay, on board. Are we on board with him now? I'd love to go on board. Have we gotten on board with Patterson? Because I'd love to see his steering input. Because for me, as he braked for Morgan, he made a quick adjustment on the wheel because he thought he was going to run into the back of Morgan.
Look at the time difference when he brakes for Morgan and when he actually clips. Because there is like a little wiggle where he panic brakes, but then he still runs wide after that. It's not directly related.
That's correct. There he should have held it. And there. But instead he went wide. He made a mistake.
It's that same problem he had at Bathurst where he's not aware of his proximity. So he knows Wilkins there. He's Wilkins very clear as day in his line of sight. And even here, he cuts for the apex. Quaid was very, very wise to back out of that.
But rightly so that he can take, because he's actually past Quaid.
Yeah,
so
but Patterson
would have.
I can tell you now that if Quaid had not backed out, Patterson would have tucked into him.
Yes, the onboard.
Now watch how he goes for this apex, knowing that Quaid is there.
Yeah, okay? but he's past him.
Yeah, he's drifted right out.
Dude, you just got to be very careful. You're asking guys to be aware that it's turn one. And what also ends up happening in turn one is that's where most opportunities for overtaking are going to happen at the start of the race. You've got a great start.
Turn one, you don't get to change line. You don't get to. If you do a drastic change in line, you're more than likely going to hit somebody.
Okay, but now
the reality of motorsport is to finish first you've got to finish.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just saying, great, you've issued a penalty. It's not ever going to change.
Yeah. No, it's not going to.
I look at incidents like this, and I just think you're telling him he can't cut the nose on Quaid Claassens. Damn right he can, because he passed him and he outbraked him. He didn't outbrake himself. He outbraked Quaid, which is why he took the line that he did into turn one. So that then does become Quaid's responsibility to manage the pace and not run into the back of him. Whether great penalties being issued. I just think it's like sometimes it's good.
But now he's trying to do exactly the same thing to Wilkin and try to get Wilkin to back up. It doesn't work like that. Wilkin's allowed to be on the outside.
Yeah, I don't think he even thought like that. I promise you. If I look at this, I just think this was...
It's evident he didn't think like that.
I think this was a panic move because of the break from Morgan. I promise you, that's what I see when I see this. He's made a mistake. Great, he's been penalised. But I think it's not that he just can't be bothered and he's going to try and run Wilkin off the line. He's assuming his racing line. He's about to run into the back of Morgan and he had a panic brake. And he actually adjusted the wheel at that panic brake. And that is what moved him that step across and touching Wilkin. So great, penalised him.
There was definitely a panic brake there and a little twitch, but then he still ran out. So no, we're definitely sticking to the drive penalty. Okay, so let's move on to the second one, which, if I'm not mistaken,
Brent Lindsay Ray and Marcus Steyn at the hairpin.
That's correct. Also lap one at the hairpin. Okay, so here we see Marcus Steyn coming around the outside. And I actually suspect that Marcus would have made the corner had that gap not been a diminishing gap that was always going to disappear.
Yeah, I just think Marcus needed to turn in tighter. You know what I mean? There was enough space to keep turning.
I think what he did was he braked at the exact optimal braking point, so he didn't have more.
You see, the reality in motorsport is that every single corner you could almost classify it as a wedge. You're coming from the thick end of the wedge and you're running into the sharp edge of the wedge. You're running into an ever-diminishing gap. It's going to disappear.
Yeah.
It's going to disappear.
No, listen. There's no issue. There's no issue with that. I mean, tapping a guy like that under a heavy braking point. These are the incidents that, for me, are crucial that they get read right in racing.
Yeah.
It is always your responsibility, especially then when you're tapping a guy on the rear three-quarter. Only one thing's going to face the wrong way.
Yeah.
But you see what I mean? That he could have actually put two wheels on the curb, could Marcus, when he saw that Etienne was, Brent Lindsay Ray was turning in. There was still space for it.
I think he still would have got a penalty. It might not have been as harsh because I think the net result of his actions may have been lighter on those around him.
Yeah.
So let me let everybody into a quick secret. When there's an accident, the first thing Jonathan and I do is we assess what carnage did the accident cause.
And it caused a lot.
That's correct. And therefore, 5-second penalties, that's out the window. We're going to debate. And that's so everybody, keep your minds around this. When there's an incident, you must understand that the carnage you've created or left behind is going to be an influence on our decision-making process.
Yeah, if I look at that again, I mean, it's a great point, that, Wayne, because, I mean, a lot of guys got affected there, but he really did.
100%.
He actually just outbraked himself a little bit. I think what Jonathan was saying there, I look and I'm saying, you got space. Look at that.
I don't think he did it on purpose, and I don't think he had intentions of destroying it for 4 or 5 other people. I don't think he did that on purpose. But the reality is, you must know, if you're going to roll the dice, and if it rolls against you, you must take your pay.
I think that's a great call on that, because, I mean, you can have a look. I mean, Brent's turned in, he's committed, he's actually on the good racing line through that corner. So that was a good call. Well done. So that was a drive-through as well, of 15 seconds, I think.
15 seconds,
Yeah, 15 seconds.
Okay.
The only reason why it was a 15-second and not a drive-through is when we looked back, guys were all able to get going again.
Okay. Yeah.
There was a car stationary left behind because of this carnage. A drive-through was at least what the minimum is going to be.
Yeah. Oh, look where he's tapped in. I mean, that's...
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's slightly unfortunate with these GT3s that they are very aero-based compared to, like, say, the GT4 class. So, you know, a lot of the guys tapping each other there didn't seem particularly bad, but I can tell you they hurt a bit in the aero department after that. But we can't give the guys back all of that. When an incident has happened, it's happened.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, shame, 5 of you had little bumper bashings. That's going to happen in real life racing as well.
Yeah.
And it's other guys' incidents that affect you, and then you're the guy that has to now suffer for it for the rest of the race. And unfortunately, that is just motorsport. And, you know, it's not something that we can implement some like magical solution for.
No.
So
people look to us to say that wasn't fair. What are you going to do to him? That's what they look to us for. They have a retribution for an action. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan, it's a good point, because, I mean, you don't know the damage. I mean, it gives you a percentage.
Correct.
It doesn't tell you exactly what that is. But, you know, an incident like that at that hairpin, if he hadn't have outbraked himself, I guarantee you there would have been some door-to-door argy-bargy, but everyone would have survived it, because they would have been going through that corner at the same pace, leaning on each other, no problem.
100%.
But just need one guy coming in at 5 kilometers an hour quicker, and it ends up like that. So that's a good call on that one. Jonathan, incident number 3.
Okay, so this incident happened a bit later in the race. This is with Kleb and Brent Lindsay Ray.
Yep.
So here you see Lindsay Ray making an attempt around the outside of Kleb into the final chicane. There was a bit of farming. Or there was a bit of argy-bargy first.
Yeah, so this... Okay, if I remember correctly...
So we never got to see this in the race. We never got to deal with this.
Guys, if I look at this, Brent Lindsay Ray is very optimistic. Yeah, he hasn't even finished the pass, and I think he's going to outbrake himself. He's never going to make that corner, in my opinion. And he's just said, well, let me just beeline for the apex. But he's never actually passed Etienne, has he?
No. So he's definitely not completed the pass, and now he's panicking to make that apex, which he turns in and causes the contact. The contact, to me, actually, it doesn't really bother me too much. Luckily for Kleb, it kind of points him in the correct direction.
What bothers me is that Lindsay Ray is now saying, oops, there's a penalty coming my way. I've definitely travelled quicker. I've benefited actually by doing this.
Yeah.
The distance of the gap here. He's like, there's shit coming my way. Let me get out of here quickly and come up where I can.
Oh, listen, Etienne did very well. That onboarding had proper opposite through there. He did well to not spin out actually through there. That's so for him to be facing the wrong way. He did very well.
In my mind, had Lindsay backed out of this
and given him the position back, no problem.
Given the position back, because look at this. Watch the close proximity they are to each other at this point.
Yeah.
Now, when they clear the chicane now, and they go back, he's out of sight.
Yeah.
No problem with that.
You know, we actually mentioned that there were a couple of incidents. I think it might have been one in the Pro-Ams where the guy also, it was a touch and go incident. We didn't get a good view of it, but we just saw the person slowing down and giving the position back and actually lost 2 positions. And that's why I was talking about saying, listen, well done, because you've realized, oh, you know, maybe I braked myself, I tapped you. Sorry about that. Here's the position.
Marius, I was going to tell you, during the race, Jonathan and I saw a couple of incidents, but we looked at it either self-served, meaning the penalty has been
the guy got punished.
He's been dealt with, or we've seen where a guy done something, he's backed out and given the position back. We actually observe it.
Well done, because that is
no issue. We do see it, and I promise you, we're looking at 5 incidents tonight. I think we look at 15 in this particular race. No, this guy's, there's good sportsmanship. Leave it alone. There's a nothing. However, this I didn't get to see during the race, and I think we need to be making a decision.
I agree. And you know, the thing is, Wayne, Jonathan and I, before you joined, I mean, we spoke about this quite a lot, Jonathan, if you remember. And it's been nice to see the guys starting to implement it, because you are going to make mistakes in a race. I mean, it is going to happen. You are going to outbrake yourself. But see that attitude in terms of, sorry, dude, here's the spot back. Now, for me,
100%, that's all I want.
Brent Lindsay had all the opportunity. There's no one behind them. It's a clear track.
Correct.
He could easily have given up this position back to Etienne and said, sorry, mate, and not lost an additional position. So, this is pretty punished, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so for this incident, I need to still look at the final results, but
no,
if
we had seen this in race, we wouldn't have had the results to deal with.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
I'd say 5-second penalty.
I was going to say position drop.
A position drop. Well,
but I'm not certain of the outcome.
Look, the position drop.
That's the point I'm making. Is had we seen this in race, we wouldn't have known what the outcome was in any case.
Yeah.
And
you would have gone 5 seconds. It seems
I would have gone 5 seconds, because you know what, the 5:15 and drive through is
and then the 5 seconds would place him back, but. I'm still going to just look at how these two finished in relation to each other.
It would be interesting.
Because, you know, just a message to Brent, you know, that this incident in total wasn't so terrible, but, you know, the fact that you, got through and cut across there and survived it and then still ducked off is just not cool.
Well, I'm sure the game would have issued him with a warning as well.
Just a warning, yeah.
That's all. So can I quote the real life motorsport regulation for that?
Yeah.
That says you may not travel a greater distance off the circuit that is necessary to rejoin the circuit.
Yeah.
Which means, ideally, you should rejoin where you left. But because of momentum, you can't. So therefore, he should have made the attempt to turn harder right on the grass to try and make the next corner. That's what he should have done. So he should have put on the clamps, turned right, and slowed himself down. Had he done that, I think the net result would have been pretty much the 5 seconds he's just received. And we wouldn't have had to have dealt with this.
Yeah, because I mean, look, he's totally. I mean, if Kleb wasn't there, he's missed.
FIA regulations are clear. You may not travel a further distance off the circuit.
But it's interesting, Jonathan. I know you want to have a look at the results and blah blah, but I mean that is. But at the end of the day, it's not Wayne's right. You actually need to look at it in terms of the incident and not look at where they finished, because a lot of the time you might. I don't know. I can't remember.
Sorry, is anybody recording the show tonight? Marius has just agreed with you.
But, you know, we can't end up. You know, you're never going to drop him back to. Let's say he did end up finishing 3 positions ahead of Etienne. You're not going to drop him behind Etienne. You know what I mean? You're going to dock him 1 position. That's why I think the 5 seconds would have been the fair call in the race, and I think that's how you got to view it. So, that's my vibe.
So sorry, Lindsay Ray, but 5 seconds coming your way, chap.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, next up we have
Hold up.
an incident that we also actually never saw during the race. This was with Patterson and Wilkin.
Charles Wilkin, yeah.
Yeah.
Same
So
corner.
now-
Where was this? What's
Same
that?
corner, yeah, last
okay.
chicane. Wilkin runs a bit wide. Patterson gets a good run on him. Wilkin outbreaks himself to protect the position. Patterson goes in and goes straight for second apex. And, you know, I'm going to say that all these incidents that we see with Patterson seem to be very, very similar. He seems to disregard his proximity. Because Wilkin's still
Well, I
there.
do know you can turn it off in the game, which is also not clever.
Yeah. Wilkin's still there. I mean,
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
he's not going anywhere. So I'm not sure of the mentality of Patterson in that he went straight for that second apex as if he's clear. That's very strange to me.
You see, we've got to be, also for me, I know it's difficult because you want to not look at a guy and say, oh, you're a repeat offender type of vibe. But
Yeah.
you know, for me, he showed maturity in terms of stopping the car. So he could easily have got sucked into the I'm going to outbrake you, I'm going to brake later than you vibe with Charles, and he didn't. That's what Charles did. Charles outbraked himself completely. So for me, that showed a bit of thought from a driving perspective, not getting sucked into that red mist, and he stops the car earlier and turns in. I still think, for me, I know what you're saying, that he should be aware that there's another car there, but have a look. He has passed Charles.
No, he was never clear. He was never ever clear. And that's one thing that we need to remember is that when the guy's on your back wheel or your back bumper, you're still not clear. You've got
I just
a
want to
crew
look
chief.
at the onboard. Give me a
But
second.
you've got to look at where I know what you're saying, but if the other car is completely off the line there, he needs to concede. And that's what I'm trying to say to you. He is always on the racing line. Charles is never on the racing line, which is
Wilkin cocks us up and runs wide.
and Kent's taking the line.
Why
That's
did he
the
keep
racing
going for
line.
the apex?
You know what I mean? So for
See,
me,
Listen, Patterson should have known on the close proximity.
I know, but Wayne, at the end of the day, the guy that's cocked up, it's his responsibility to back out of that because
Listen, there's no denying that. There's no denying that.
so he can
So
take.
look here, by the way, you see what Wilkins done here? He went for this, he made a point of coming back for this apex. That's what I expected out of Lindsay Ray on the previous episode.
Yeah.
I
No, of
expected
course, he's still got the car stopped. But Jonathan, I hear what you're saying, that it's going to improve Kieran Patterson as an all-round racer if he is more aware of those type of things. Because what's happening, he's leaving it up to chance, and he's leaving it up to other drivers to make that decision for him. Whereas you could actually say, listen, let me be a bit aware here. But I think in his mind, he's going, Charles outbraked himself. I've nailed this corner. I'm taking the line.
I own it, yeah.
I still think Charles has the responsibility to Kieran to not tap him there because he's outbraked himself. He's lost that corner.
I don't think so because, he screwed up the first apex, but he's still in line to own the next apex. And he has every right to fight for that apex, within the safe bounds of racing. But, I mean, if you look at it, like, Patterson hasn't completed an overtake on Wilkin that he has suddenly earned that corner.
Yeah,
Yes, Wilkin has screwed up the first apex, but there's another apex coming.
Yeah, the tough thing for me is I think if they went through that, if Charles stopped and they made that corner, the first one side by side, door to door, it'd be a different story.
I was going to ask that question. If they were side by side, would Patterson still have closed the door on Wilkin?
No, he wouldn't have, because then they wouldn't have spun, because then they would.
No, I think yes. I think you still would have squeezed him for the apex. Jonathan?
We don't know that.
No. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't operate on what ifs.
No, of course we don't. No, but I'm saying,
but it's like, I mean, he's actually also, I mean, Wilkins put two wheels on the grass. So that for me, I look at that in that aerial shot and I'm going, dude, I mean,
Listen, Wilkins was definitely a contributing factor to turning Patterson around at that point. There's no denying it. And if you look at this is the kind of debate that Jonathan and I have off air, is what was the net result? So the net result is that Patterson got away, and Wilkin, where did he go? Oh, he went back to the kitty litter. Well,
leave it. It's dealt with.
That's correct. In this situation, I would lean towards, punishment served. because Pedersen did lose a position. He lost 1 or 2 car positions for his not giving Wilkin enough space. And Wilkin got worse off because Wilkins actually should have also realized that close proximity, how dare you stick on those.
Yeah, but Jonathan, I hear what you said.
I don't disagree, but I do think that the blame sits on Pedersen on this one.
Yeah. Oh, there is definitely blame.
Yeah,
There is
I mean,
definitely blame. But I don't think 100% blame sits with it.
yeah, as with most incidents, there's always like factors that lead up to the actual
That's
incident.
correct.
But I still stand with the fact that Wilkin had every right to fight for the next corner, and you know there was still overlap, and
Sure.
yeah.
No, listen, I don't for 1 minute say that there's only one person who's guilty. I just think that there's ratios. I think punishment, in my opinion, has been dealt with. They both lost position. Wilkin lost more than Pedersen.
Yeah, I just think if you door to door, you're in for a shout on the corner. If you are on the rear wheel, you're not in for a shout on the corner. You've already lost.
I don't disagree with you, but you got to remember that you can't. If you turn in, you're the dumbass because you're going to take yourself out.
But that's
which happened.
But that's what we've spoken about. That it's about Kieran learning to just not rely on other people making the right decision because they're not always going to, and you're going to get punished here. But it's like I get what he's doing. Like I see a guy outbrake himself, shoot wide, just literally 2 wheels a bit on the grass. He manages to get the car back. For him, he's like, I've nailed this. I'm through on my line. You know, and it's hard because that proximity thing. I know it's telling you the car's there, but where? It's telling you it's on the left, but what, a quarter of an inch, a meter, whatever.
Doesn't matter. He's there.
I hear you, but at the end of the day, in real racing, I would know that car's there and I would take the line, and you can feel that. But it's very difficult in sim. So the proximity is telling you that there's a car there, but it is there. But is he on the grass? You don't know that because the proximity is not going to tell him the car.
In that regard, I mean, you need to even take more care. You can't just pretend like he's not there because now if the guy's out of control, what's going to happen? He's just going to T-bone you as soon as you exit the corner.
Well, but that is also racing, Jonathan, because at the end of the day, I can't be going, oh, let me have a look around me. I just want to see where everyone is because by then you're lost. So
my point is that you see here, Kieran is not taking into account that, hey, Wilkin might actually be out of control on the grass. Let me be slightly careful and not turn for the apex as if nobody's there.
Then where would you like him to turn? Because that proximity
leaves space for Wilkin.
No, but that proximity thing, whether Wilkin was 5 meters on the grass or not, it's still going to tell you there's a car on your left. So he's also
so why is he turning in then?
Because he's making an assumption he's outbraked himself and I have the corner.
Yeah, that's why it's the blame on him.
No, it doesn't place the blame on him. No, because at the end of the day, Charles went off the track. So him coming back onto the track, it's his responsibility.
He's still legally on the track. And he still legally had a fight for that apex.
2 wheels on a fight for the apex on the arse of a car. I don't think he can fight for the apex.
No, I don't think that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure that Wilkin is 100% innocent.
No, but he's not innocent. He's guilty. Because he's put 2 wheels on the grass. Have a look at the wheel shot. Look where his wheels go. So he now can't put his nose into the next apex because he doesn't have the right to it. 2 wheels on the grass.
He hits him on the door, guys. Open your eyes.
I agree with you, Jonathan. I agree with you.
But for me,
giving him space.
But you know what the funny thing is, Jonathan? There are 2 ways. I can hit you on the door where I'm door to door, or I can harpoon you with the nose of my car and the door of your car. It's a big difference.
So can we talk about harpooning next?
Okay. So are we going with this as penalty served?
I'm going with penalty served.
But Jonathan, you're right in terms of Kieran is getting himself caught up in a lot of these things because he's making assumptions. So I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But
so there's a warning to Kieran, this is going to hurt you eventually. You carry
exactly, and it has. You know, it's hurt him in this race. He was top 10 qualifier and ended up way down. So this was a bad race for him because of incidents like this. So I know what you're saying, Jonathan, but it's a tricky one. I know I feel like we're gunning Charles a little bit here, but I think Anyway.
Well, that leads us straight into the last incident, which is the piece de resistance.
Yeah.
You know what the good thing is, Jonathan? We're not going to disagree here.
Yeah, I mean, this incident speaks for itself, really, and
I'd like no one to comment, and let us just take this all in for a second. Okay, just take this all in for a second, because this, I think, is a massive opportunity for the gaming community out there to learn. All right, when we play Pac-Man and you get charged, and you push the reset button and you can start again. This is a simulator game. This is a game that's designed to simulate real life. What is this? This is real life, and this kind of action cannot be accepted. It cannot. You have a look at this, and I don't know. Do we get the onboard?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so we'll have it on board, I think, next.
But that's also the worst shot from that aerial, because it's such a
100%.
Terrible.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
So this to me was a rub. All right. There was no malice there.
No.
The follow through or the retribution for me was where I had serious problem. Now here is the onboard of Shoal Walker. Have a look at this. Right? So he goes across like this. Now watch this. Bang. What is that? So So basically Jonathan and I were like, what? And there wasn't even a debate. It wasn't not even a split-second debate on this. It was deep. And in real life, that for me would be a black flag. I would hang the black flag out as the race director for the very next passing for that competitor. Say, you get off the racing track.
Wayne, what he did is he then ejects to the pits.
Well, you see, now that to me is where it got worse.
Yeah.
That for me is where it got worse, because that was, now you don't want to face your music for your action. So you're going to liberty somebody and then head for the hills. Just check out.
Yeah.
Oh, hell no.
I want to paint the scenario here, because I think it's important, because this is like a Sebastian Vettel moment with Hamilton, where we slapped him wheel to wheel for the brake check.
Yep.
Big difference. So let's put this in perspective. Charles, frustrating. Also, I think qualified in 10th, involved in that first turn incident with Kieran Patterson. So he's having a cuck day. Now we've seen he has an incident with Kieran Patterson again at the Cassia Curves. This is literally down the straight after that incident. So he's been spun around. He's bloody grumpy. Kieran's up there going through turn 1. Eldor comes past him because he's got a way better drive. So this man is pissed off and fuming. What happens from Eldor's perspective, and we saw the onboard, there's no deliberate turn in to try, but that was a bit on Eldor's part. But that stuff happens. But what happens after that, what is even more disappointing for me, is this is not gaming mentality here. Charles Wilkins is not a gamer. He is a seasoned, real racing driver. Now, had he done that for real in a race, he would have got into such a fisticuffs in the pits. He would have been put in his place, because there's no quick eject button. He would have had to have driven his car back to the pits, and it would have been dealt with right then and there, face to face. So this is, I'm going to use a term, it's a soft cock approach to dealing with things. You basically cause trouble and you run away. And that is correct. That is what I hate.
It's like liberting somebody than heading for the hills.
Totally unacceptable. I'm more disappointed because it's Charles. He knows better. I know we get frustrated. There's no place for it. Whether you real racing or you virtual racing, it's bollocks.
So, what is the net result of all of this? The net result is that this is a simulator game, and we are simulating real racing. So we're going to make a real racing decision. Jonathan and I have had a long conversation about this, and the reality is we did DQ, which is equivalent to a black flag on race day.
Yeah.
And had Wilkin just waited for that decision from us, that would have been the end of this conversation. But because of the ejection, we are saying, okay, you want to eject, we acknowledge you want to eject, therefore we eject you for the rest of the season, sir. Very cool. If you come and play back with us this season. However, if you wish to come back next year, you're more than welcome. But please understand, you're taking a race ban. You must tell us what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I mean that for me is all good and well. The fact that he's ejected, we know we're not going to see him in 2 weeks' time in Spa, because and you know what?
Now we are not. Now we are not.
Well, listen. I mean, you know what would be cool. Charles Wilkin, if he's listening to this, it would be great if in 2 weeks' time he registered to be a part of the race and was shown as a disqualified for the race. That would earn some respect from me and from the community.
Maybe not. The reality of the matter is that he should have hung around, and that was very much unspoken. In real motorsport, this would have had what we would call an internal investigation, and possibly a license suspension for a very long time.
But Wayne, what I'm getting at, the challenge is here now. We know he's not going to come back in 2 weeks' time. Because now he's got the ban for the rest of the season. But what I would like, because in real racing, he wouldn't rock up in 2 weeks' time because he's banned. But I think for Charles Wilkin, what would be nice for me to see is I would like him to arrive in 2 weeks' time at Spa. I would like to do a seeding run on the Saturday, and I'd like him to qualify, and I'd like him to then take his ban, and I'd like him to do the same thing at the finale at Kyalami. So he shows that he's like, listen, guys, I actually really cocked up here. I'm really sorry. And this is how I want to repay it. So now I'm not racing, but I'm committed to the series and I'm committed to the sport. That for me would be the right way for Charles to redeem his name, because what he's done here is not cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's possible. Can that happen, Jonathan?
Yeah, it can. I don't suspect it will happen, but I know he's taken a bit of a beating from the actual community themselves now. So
yeah, but Jonathan, even more reason. We're all human. We've all done stupid things. We've all had rushes of blood and things that we seriously regret. And you know what the amazing thing is? You put your hand up, you go, guys, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm so sorry. We forgive.
You know what, Marius, I process what you just said. In motorsport, the young kids always look at the elder statesmen as examples.
Yeah.
Wilkin is the racing driver I always thought he was.
Yeah.
What your proposal you put on the table, I would accept.
Yeah.
Because that means he's showing manner.
Totally.
Face the consequences. And I'm teaching the younger guys that you must own up. You must face them. Checking out not the answer. I would accept it.
Yeah, because come 2021,
correctly says maybe he won't.
Come 2021, the first race of the season, you'll happily see him there because he's served his due and he's done his thing. So I mean, I really hope that message, what we're saying, gets across to Charles, because I'm telling you, I mean, I know we do stupid things and he's probably hating the fact that he did this. But now it's time to say, listen, I cocked up. I'm sorry, Oaks, and show commitment to motorsport.
It was clearly a rush of blood to the head. It clearly was. And if you look at the race, he was unfortunate. He's what we in motorsport refer to as the brat pack. He was being clubbed left, right, and centre. It was not an easy game, an easy race for him. He'd been rubbed up and turned around a couple of times. But the rush of the blood to the head, you cannot. And in real life, you're playing with lives doing this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, I mean, he, like you painted the picture earlier, I think he was involved with literally, 4 incidents, and all 4 of those incidents during the race were the other person's fault, and they got penalties in the race. So this here with Bellingham, like grazing him, was kind of like a Bellingham, just trying to put him in his place a bit, say, I'm coming past. And that was the catalyst, that was the thing that just set him off. So, we don't encourage guys to specifically target guys and try and assert your dominance over them. But it is the kind of thing you're going to do in real life racing as well, where you're going to, you're going to specifically get close to the other guy and be like, I'm coming through.
I think that's I mean, for Aldo, that's silly. I don't think it was something deliberate. But I mean, I was telling the guys, we raced, it was last weekend, the Mandela Bay 500. And we had the front runners, the Lamborghini and the Ferraris. And some of the guys were doing that. When they pass you, they cut your nose, and they don't need to, because it's not like they rapidly need to get back onto the racing line for the corner, but they're risking their own race because they miscalculate that. Now, I don't think Aldo did that deliberately. I don't think it was. If you look at that onboard, there's no big move across. No. I think he just caught himself out a little bit. But I mean, it was nothing. That happens in racing. But what happens afterwards should never happen in racing.
100%.
It's just, for me, it's just really, in a way,
Yeah.
I want to say it's sad that we've got to see this, and it is. But what I'm loving about my first season in simulator racing is it's delivered everything. I mean,
It has, hasn't it?
we've seen some of the most amazing racing. We've seen great decisions, like real racing decisions that you guys have sat and implemented, bringing things like safety cars in here. I mean, the season's just progressed. It's really delivered it all in terms of action on the track and obviously debates off the track as well. So this is what we expect from a real racing series. And this is what this is, whether it's virtual or not.
Yeah. I must tell you, it was lively, but yeah, this is not cool. This is not cool. It really, really isn't.
Yeah.
And I think let this be a lesson to everybody out there. You know, we're not in the 80s, 90s where you can T-bone your opposition out of a race. Those are gone.
And I'm glad that you and Jonathan have dealt with this in a really harsh manner, because you're right, you're setting examples here, and you guys have put that line in the sand in terms of how you're dealing with incidents in the race, and you've done it professionally. So there's no backing down, there's no okay, sorry, and that's what I love, because I know, Jonathan, in the beginning you were taking heat because you obviously know all the guys, but at the end of the day, this is how it is. We all know. I mean, Wayne, when you sat there, the guys know you, they have a beer with you afterwards. But they have a beer with you afterwards because it's dealt with, and they move on because there's consistency, right. And that is all you look. I might not agree with you, Wayne. I might not agree with you, Jonathan, but I respect your decision is final, and that is what it is. Let's go and have a beer and let's hang out. And that is why my message to Charles is just to do that. Just put your hand up and do whatever you can to make it right for motorsport, because this is motorsport.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, listen.
But I wanted to say something. I don't think anybody could have scripted this race meeting the way it's.
I know, and the scary thing is we're now going 2 weeks' time to Spa. You guys are going to be so busy there. I don't know. It's 3 weeks. Sorry, 3 weeks from now. I think Warren's going to be in that safety car. You better get some laps around Spa in that safety car. Because I think he's going to be busy. And Jonathan, I know. I mean, Spa. There's always rain. Just saying. So I'm sure the drivers will be thinking about. But guys, it's going to be super, super exciting, because even though we've crowned a champion, there's still a lot of action for me in terms of
there's racing coming still.
Third position is awesome. And knowing Zahir Essa, we saw what he did now on the weekend. He's not happy just to compete. He wants to win. He wants to destroy. He wants to be the guy at the top. So I think he's going to come out guns blazing at Spa to prove that he's got the number one position for a reason.
Yeah,
but I'm
and sure, a point to prove as well.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing that battle with Morgan McCall and Bruno Cadile, because I mean, Bruno, that also, we haven't spoken about that. I mean, Bruno, I think would have been sitting tie for third position in the championship, 2 corners to go, and he pulls a handbrake up through 130R and ends up losing how many positions. I never saw that coming either. So it's going to be exciting in Spa in 3 weeks' time. Jonathan Bentz, Wayne Riddell, not a nice way to finish, but I think a good way to finish in terms of setting examples and for people to look at this series and know that it's legitimate, that we're not mucking around. We are not playing games. We are racing for real. So Jonathan Bentz, Wayne Riddell, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And you guys, we'll see you at Spa in 3 weeks' time. Massive thank you, of course, to our sponsors, to Kyalami 9 Hour, to Motorsport South Africa, to AMD, to Elgato, and to Logitech for putting together what is, without a doubt, the most action-packed sim racing series in the country. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time at Spa. Have a good Monday night.
Let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me Now we're saying I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. All these men gonna tell you what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my code. So I need back in my home. I'm working like so much, that's why I had me a drum. It's my soul, all in, can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap and almost bagging wheels.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.